Hello, my name is Hale Hankins, and welcome to After the Uniform. Today, we're diving into a serious and deeply important issue, the extremely high suicide rates among our nation's veterans. Since 9/11, millions of Americans have served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other conflicts tied to the global war of terror. And today, an estimated 18 veterans die by suicide every single day, a crisis impacting military families and communities across the country. In this episode, we'll explore three major areas: the history of wartime trauma, the causes behind today's elevated suicide rates, and the challenges veterans face when they return home. We'll also discuss what is being done and what still needs to be done to address this crisis. And today, I have a very special guest, Command Sergeant Major, retired Jimmy Hankins, my dad, who served over 27 years in the U.S. Army as a field artillery expert, with 2 combat deployments to Iraq. Dad, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
To understand today's crisis, it's important to recognize that what we call PTSD isn't new. Throughout history, soldiers have returned with psychological wounds. They were just given different names, like soldier's heart, shell shock, and battle fatigue. But because these conditions weren't understood, support was often non-existent. Many veterans suffered in silence. Dad, from your experience and what you've seen, how were soldiers historically expected to deal with these struggles?
They were expected to push through and keep fighting. Showing vulnerability just wasn't part of our culture. Soldiers carried a lot of pain quietly, and so did their families.
Now that we know this isn't a new issue, we need to look at why suicide rates among veterans today are so high. And it's not just one thing, it's a combination of factors. Many veterans were exposed to staggering levels of violence. Some served multiple deployments, 10, even 15 tours. That's hard to even imagine. And the war on terror didn't have a clear front line. Soldiers lived in constant alert where anyone at any time could be a threat. Dad, how did this environment affect you and the people you served with?
It was mentally exhausting. In Iraq, you never knew where the new attack was coming from. Mortars on base, roadside bombs, disguised as trash or animals, or even inside an attack by someone who was actually just working for us. You're always on edge, and that's a hard mindset to turn off when you're back home.
I can't imagine coming home from that and being expected to just go back to normal.
It's not easy.
Another thing I learned while researching was the incidents at Fort Bragg after 9/11. Multiple cases of homicide and suicide in the special operations community. Soldiers were coming home from firefights one day and back in their homes a few days later. No decompression and no reintegration.
Right, it was a huge wake-up call. Reintegration programs today are better. Not perfect, but at least better.
We've talked a lot about invisible wounds, but the physical injuries add another layer. Traumatic brain injuries, TBIs, are incredibly common, and some go undetected for years. Dad, can you talk about how injuries affected soldiers during your career?
Absolutely. Injuries were constant, sometimes in combat, often in training. TBIs come not just from IEDs, but things like artillery blasts, explosives used in breaching doors, or hard parachute landings. But we didn't understand TBIs well back then. And honestly, any injury was viewed as weakness. Guys hid their pain because they didn't want to be taken out of their job. Add in the culture of drinking, and you now have a dangerous combination.
It makes sense. People will do anything to stay in the game.
Exactly. A lot of soldiers self-medicated with alcohol or pain meds, and that could spiral out of control very fast.
So if services exist, why do so many veterans still struggle to get help?
Volume. pure volume. After 9/11, we had an entire generation of service members returning with PTSD, TBIs, chronic pain, and the VA just became overwhelmed. Every VA has long wait lines, delays, understaffed clinics. And then there's still the stigma. Soldiers were, and sometimes still are, afraid to ask for help. They don't want to look weak or risk their career in any way.
So we have veterans hesitant to seek help and a system struggling to meet demand.
Exactly. When PTSD and TBI and chronic pain go untreated, combined with alcohol or isolation, suicide risk skyrockets.
Before we wrap up, is there anything else you think contributes to this crisis?
Yes. A lot of veterans lose their sense of purpose after leaving the military. In service, you have a mission. You're part of a stronger, bigger, group that has camaraderie and is powerful. In civilian life, you can feel boring or disconnected or even meaningless by comparison. You almost have to retrain your mind to understand that everyday life won't match the intensity of combat. And that's okay, but many guys struggle with that.
Dad, thank you for sharing your experiences and insight with us today. What we've talked about shows that the veteran suicide crisis has multiple layers: combat trauma, physical injuries, overwhelmed treatment systems, stigma, and the loss of identity and purpose after service. These aren't small challenges, but there is hope. Awareness is growing, treatment options are improving, and the stigma around seeking help is slowly breaking down. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out. The Veterans Crisis Line is available 24/7. Just call 988, then press 1, or text 838-255. To every veteran listening, your service matters, your story matters, and we're grateful you're here. I'm Hill Hinkins. This has been After the Uniform. Stay safe, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.